The Toyota Sprinter was a compact car manufactured by Toyota as a variant of the Toyota Corolla. Exclusively sold in the Japanese domestic market, the Sprinter was aimed to be sportier than its Corolla sibling, with the Sprinter being sold at the Toyota Vista Store while the Corolla was sold at the eponymous Toyota Corolla Store, which focused on economical cars compared to the more upmarket Vista Store. The Sprinter is notable for being used as the base vehicle for two joint projects between Toyota and General Motors in the United States and Australia. From 1984 to 2002, variants of the Sprinter were manufactured by NUMMI in Fremont, California, known as the Chevrolet Nova, Geo Prizm, and Chevrolet Prizm. The Holden Nova was manufactured by United Australian Automobile Industries from 1989 to 1996. Each generation of the Corolla had a corresponding Sprinter sibling, until the introduction of the Corolla E140 in 2000. The Sprinter was directly replaced by the Toyota LX, and NUMMI would also commence export of the Corolla-derived Pontiac Vibe hatchback from the United States to the Japanese domestic market badged as the Toyota Vulse. Both were sold at the Toyota Net Store, which succeeded the Toyota Vista dealer network. First generation Euro E10 series. The first-generation Sprinter was introduced in March 1968 as a fastback version of the first-generation Corolla, and sold at Japanese dealership sales channel called Toyota Auto Store. This was the only version to include the word Corolla in its name. Like the rest of the Corolla range, the 1077cc's K engine was upgraded to the 1166cc's 3K engine in September 1969. The Corolla was sold at a different dealership in Japan called Toyota Corolla Store. Second generation Euro E20 series. In May 1970, the Sprinter was released as a variation of the second generation Corolla Coupe. Toyota had promised its Toyota Corolla Store dealers in Japan that they would receive exclusive rights to sell the Corolla. In order to sell through the Toyota Auto Store dealer network, the Sprinter was no longer called a Corolla, even though the differences were mostly cosmetic. In Japan, the 3K engine was supplemented by a 1407cc's T engine in September 1970. Some markets received the 1588cc's 2T engine in March 1972. With the Twinkum 2TG engine, the vehicle was known as the Sprinter Truino. A special model called the Sprinter Truino J had everything the Truino had except it used the single-cam, twin-carburetor 2TB engine. Third generation Euro E40, E60 series. 1974 brought the third-generation Sprinter based on the third-generation Corolla Coupe, two-door sedan, four-door sedan and liftback. Once again, the differences between the Corolla and Sprinter were mostly cosmetic. Sedans received a more formal upright grille, while the coupe and liftback received a sleeker, aerodynamic-looking frontal treatment. The Corollas were given E30-38 codes while the Sprinters were given corresponding E41-47 codes. When the Corolla range received a minor update in March 1974 to become the E50-55 series, the Sprinter received a corresponding update to become the E60 series. In 1978, the Sprinter saw a competitor introduced by Nissan called the Pulsar. Fourth generation Euro E70 series. The 1979 fourth-generation Sprinter was based on the fourth-generation Corolla Coupe, two-door sedan, four-door sedan and liftback. As before, the differences were cosmetic. The Corollas had a simpler treatment of the grille, headlights and tail lights, while the Sprinter used a slightly more complex, sculpted treatment. Images of this generation can be found here. Fifth-generation Euro E80 series. The fifth-generation Sprinter was based on the 1983 fifth-generation Corolla range. Like the Corolla, the model line was split into FWD and RWD models. This was the last generation of Sprinters to have RWD, so it remains a favorite of sports car enthusiasts, particularly in drifting. Fame was brought to this model by its appearance in the initial D Japanese animation. The four-door sedan and the five-door liftback were sold in North America under the resurrected name of Chevrolet Nova, the first of several Toyotas built by General Motors under license at NUMMI. The Japanese market Sprinter was available as the following models. The A82 Sprinter sedan had slightly different headlamps compared to the A82 Corolla, 4 side windows, inclined C-pillar, different tail lamps. The boot was placed a little higher and front aero grills were like the A86 Levin. It had an overall similarity with the A86 Levin Coupe. The RWD Sprinter came with pop-up headlamps and the front bumper was raised a little to accommodate them. The US Corolla GTS shared the headlamps with the Japanese market A86 Sprinter but with small differences such as lower lift height and US globe fittings. The Sprinter sold in Australia was actually identical to a Japanese market Corolla in all of its specifications. FWD grades, ZX, SX, DX, Special DX, XL, Super XL, XL LIS, SE, SE Saloon, Riviere Senior, GT, RWD grades, XL, SE, SR, GT, GTV, GT Apex, Black Limited. 6th generation Euro E90 series. The 6th generation Sprinter was shared with the 6th generation Corolla range, introduced in May 1987. They were offered as FWD and full-time 4WD. The Sprinter was offered as a sedan, coupe, 5-door liftback called Sprinter Cielo, and station wagon named Sprinter Caribe. The sedan and liftback had the same front ends but different rear ends. The JDM market Sprinter Trueno Coupe had retractable headlamps, but in this generation the RWD model was discontinued and all coupes were FWD. It was the base for the American Corolla Coupe. In the USA, the Sprinter sedan and liftback with slightly different front end was sold as Geo Prizm. The E9X frames were offered with a variety of engines. Out of all these engines the 4AGE20V Silvertop was a revolutionary engine when it was offered in 1991, with features like VVT, individual throttle bodies, a compression ratio of 10.8 to 1 and 5 valves per cylinder. This helped the car to accelerate from 0 to 100 km per hour in approximately 6 seconds and reach a top speed of over 200 km per hour. A 5-valve per cylinder engine was unusual for the time, though Mitsubishi also offered a 5-valve vehicle in the Minica Dangon ZZ4 in 1989. Exterior. The E90 model started production in 1988 and ended in mid-1991. Like previous models it got midlife facelifts called First Face and Second Face. The GT versions, as usual, were given a front lip and a spoiler at the back. The Sprinter was available as the following models. The Sprinter was available in the following grades: MX, MX Saloon, SE, XL, GT, AVI, AVE, RVS, GT Apex. 7th generation Euro E100 series. The 7th generation Sprinter was shared with the 7th generation Corolla range introduced in June 1991. This platform continued to be produced in North America as the Geo Prizm sedan, as the hatchback body style was discontinued. For this generation only, Toyota introduced the 4-door hardtop sedan called the Sprinter Merino. 8th generation Euro E110 series. The 8th generation Sprinter was shared with the 8th generation Corolla range from May 1996. This is the last time Toyota used the Sprinter badge. After this, Toyota used the LX badge. The E110 Sprinter was only marketed in the Japanese market as a sedan. Its exterior was similar to the E110 Corolla but there were small differences like the Sprinter badges in the front grille and the interior. This body style continued in North America, with some minor changes, as the Chevrolet Prizm, when the Geo brand was discontinued. In Oceania the Sprinter Caribe was based on the 5-door 1.6L station wagon. This version came standard with electric windows, airbags for both driver and front passenger and automatic transmission. Several engine options were available. Externally it could be distinguished from the Corolla by its black, rather than body-colored upper bumper and side moldings and door handles. In front, new headlights and air intake moldings and radiator intake openings were used, often with a Caribe nameplate. The Caribe was also fitted with a spoiler, with an integrated brake light, above the rear window on the back hatch, and some were fitted with roof rails. A Carib decal was used on the right, rear window in place of Corolla. Some versions of the Carib were four-wheel drive. Engines: 2EE, 5AFE, 4AFE, 4AGE, 4AGE, 2C. References. External links: AE82 Chevrolet Nova Review.